afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Marvel Movie Talk right here on Geekscape. Very excited to be with each and every one of you. And every week I say I'm very excited because it is always exciting to get to do the show, to get to hang out with my co hosts. We love to chat. We love being here on Geekscape. Some weeks I don't love what we're talking about as much. And you may remember last week. We had a little bit of a gimmick with a countdown clock to see how quickly we could talk about that episode. But I'm going to say, before I even turn to my co hosts, this was a great episode of Agatha All Along. I haven't said that yet, but I thought that this was a great one. As always, I am Christian Blatt. With me is Mr. Nate Miller.
Hey, good to be here.
And in the circle square for the block, Katie Hampton. Great to see you.
Great to be back, you guys. I'm very curious to know what Nate thought of this episode.
Yeah, well, I think we should dive right into it because, Katie, you texted me that you were thinking that you might actually watch it a second time before we started the show. And Ivan Soto is finally, Christian. So glad to hear it. Look, I want to love everything. Don't think that I walked into Megalopolis convinced I was going to hate it. I was expecting to. I'm not going to lie. But I wanted to love that. I wanted to love Joker, too. I wanted to love Madam Web. And yes, I even wanted to like Unfrosted, despite the fact that they cut Katie out of it. So I'm glad that I enjoyed this episode. But Nate, I think everyone's wondering, and by everyone, I mean Katie. What did you think of this episode?
I enjoyed it. It was, I think, of the ones we've seen so far, this is probably my favorite one.
Sure.
We got, I guess it's hard to say that it was plot progression since it was a lot of stuff that we had seen before. But I'm always a big fan of like recontextualizing past events that we've seen that maybe not have been totally explained. I thought some of the reveals that we got were cool and made a lot of sense. And yeah, I think Joe Locke is great, and it's cool that he actually kind of got to have a bigger opportunity to have an actual performance than we've kind of really seen from him so far. So I enjoyed it. It was good. And the link was nice too.
Yeah. What's your reaction, Katie?
Joe Locke's performance, I was blown away. I was so happy about that. Especially when we open up the with him and his bar mitzvah. And I was like, this is like a completely different character. And to see why that was such a completely different character was such a testament to the performer. Like this was, give me all the good acting.
Well,
give me all the good.
It was interesting because I knew that our buddy David Brody wasn't going to be able to be with us today because he's at New York Comic Con. Some of us would call that fake Comic Con, but not me. I don't throw those kind of terms around. Other people throw those terms around. He's just at New York Comic Con. So I knew he wasn't going to be here. And our pal Eric Connor scheduling hasn't really worked for him to join us to talk about this show. So the episode with the bar mitzvah, we don't have any of our Jewish representation, which we usually have on this show. And, I guess they could let us know, hey, did they get it right? Although I've been to them. I've been to Eric Connor's younger son's bar mitzvah, and it sure looked like one. And there was a lot in that first segment. I'm thinking, so was Vision Jewish? Because Maximoff, I don't think so, but maybe. So I was like really trying to put it into place, and I'm like, who are these two yahoos? Like these are his parents. I don't know, but I was trying to piece it all together. So I think that they did a great job in grabbing us right away. And really getting to see a different side of William. And I thought that here's how much I like this episode. I took notes during it, and
did you
usually usually I start out trying to like think I'm gonna make notes, and then I'll tell you what, I didn't have anything in this episode spoiled for me, Katie, but there was a buzz about it, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna leave the laundry in the basket. I'm just gonna watch this. So.
That's
Yeah.
huge.
I I also wasn't tired. I had watched something on television earlier that was disturbing, so it was going to be hard for me to get to sleep that night. Is the Mets and Dodgers game made it so I wasn't going to sleep anytime soon. So be glad that Brody's not here for that reason too. So we don't have anything to say about that. But yeah, so I'd heard a little bit, but and we'll get to it momentarily. There is something in this that I would have been mad if I had read too much on Twitter. You know, the presence of someone. And hey, look at this. Ivan Soto doing some homework. I recognized William's parents. The mom from the incredible Paramount Plus show School Spirits, and the dad was from Prison Break. Him I remembered. I recognized him. But yeah, I
Both
don't know what
incredible
School Spirits.
actors. They're sort of they're not really character actors, but they're in a lot of dramas and things, and they've been across the board in so many shows and things that you've really enjoyed. Prison Break, yes, obviously one of them. I haven't seen School Spirit. That sounds fun.
Yeah, I mean, it has a name like that. I'm like, wait, I think there might be ghosts in that,
I
Katie.
think that might be it.
Let's check it out. So yeah, and the first like big reveal we get is we see Patty Lapone, and you know, and we do have our first mystery solved. Really, it would appear anyway that she's the one who puts the sigil on him, and I think a lot of us were assuming it was Wanda, but what we learn as it goes along is that sort of the end of Westview. I don't think Wanda had time to think of things like that. And as we find out, if Billy had not been, sort of a sort of a go-getter, and by that I mean going and getting a body of a young boy who just died, then he would not still be with us. So I thought that was interesting, that she looks at his hand and it's, well, you've got two lines. And I was like, you know what? Just go and enjoy. Have fun.
I
That's
mean,
that's what I want.
she saw his death. Like she saw
Yeah,
that
yeah.
kid's death. I so his original name was William, and he just happened to embody another.
You know what we do? We call that a happy accident. Okay. It's it's like if on Legion the Shadow King had inhabited somebody named King Shadow, you'd be like, all right, close enough. It's
I would
basically
imagine that there's some kind of like,
Connection.
if there's check boxes that he filled a certain number of the boxes that allowed this, kind of like an organ donor situation. Like some
Sure.
things have to match in order for the organ to
Yeah.
take. I think in order for the soul to inhabit the body, there had to be some kind of connections that made it work. That's how I am explaining it, at least.
Nate, this is spoken like someone who may or may not have possessed someone before. Is there anything you want to tell us about your history? Can we see the lines on your hand, or
I
should we
would
just
tell
move
you, but there is a sigil preventing me
on?
from
All right. Well,
talking about it.
He shows
that'll
his
just
hand;
make
it's just blurred.
I don't have the effects budget for all the fancy stuff, but
that's fair. Yeah, I think that there had to be a match, and also the proximity probably is like, conveniently a teen just died right around here, and yeah, I mean, I thought that that early part of the story, sort of when he comes to, he calls out for Billy, and then they're just saying like, okay, well, we're your parents, this is who you are, and he's hearing what they're thinking, and their reaction is kind of like, oh, yeah, I didn't actually say that. But they don't really do anything with the fact that's like, how did he know what I was thinking? They just kind of shrug it off. I guess they're in shock. Do you think that that's accurate, Katie? That, if you thought something and then the person in the room with you answered it, would you just shrug it off? You might be like, I didn't actually say that to you. How did you know that?
Right. Well, I think that's what was kind of throwing me at first. I was like, is he going insane or is it actually Billy reading their minds? Like that
Hmm.
kind of threw me for a bit. And I think they kind of just had to, in order to get the story moving along, just like shrug it off and just do the thing that every parent couple has to do in some kind of horror teen show or horror teen movie is just be like, oh well, not a big deal, keep going until we find something bigger.
Yeah.
It was a little bit untrue to me when they brought him home. They're like, yeah, you'll just suffer from a little amnesia, don't worry about it, you'll be good as new. I was like, he had a
Yeah.
severe head injury
Well,
and
and then
he doesn't remember anything.
it's like 3 years later. Yeah, I still don't
Yeah.
remember anything before the accident. It's like, "Oh, wow, that's a really long time," you know?
Mhm.
I all I know about amnesia, I've learned from television, and I know on Charles in Charge, when they just hit him in the head, he
Oh
would switch
god.
personalities like that if Buddy would do that. That was the way to, fix it. So, did anybody try hitting him on the head again? Where was Willie Ames? I don't know. I mean, he seems to be well trained in that.
Jog that
Um,
memory.
yeah, right, exactly. What did you think as we're starting to, unravel what's happening to Billy sort of after WandaVision, Nate? We're getting to kind of see him. He's like, yeah, it's like, I don't feel like I belong here, but I also don't know where I belong. I thought Joe Locke did a great job in sort of that portrayal being so different from the teen we'd gotten to know over the previous 5 episodes.
Yeah, I think like especially given the character's backstory in the comics, I think it was a really elegant way to pay homage to that while also making it kind of easier to digest. Also have some like emotional weight too. I was talking to my partner about like imagine being responsible for your son dying, like without the Billy Maximoff situation, William Kaplan is just dead, right?
Yeah.
Killed by his parents' negligence when driving.
Was it his parents' negligence, or was it whatever car was going the wrong side of the way down the street?
Well, she
Well,
turned
if
to
you're
look at
looking in front of you,
yeah.
you would at
True.
least see that in enough time to not,
To
you
swerve
know,
away, to get out of the
yeah,
way. Yeah. It was a
and
2-lane road, sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
like don't be driving on the wrong side, but also look where you're driving,
Yeah.
as
It did
people were.
also look like they were driving towards the hex, which I was like,
Well, that
Yeah.
might just be where their house is, but, yeah, I don't know if you took driver's ed, Katie, but, they say 2 and 10 is important, but more important than that is actually look at the direction the car is going,
fair
so
enough.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's all.
this reminds me of like when we in was that Black Widow when we saw the blip from the other perspective, right?
Oh, we saw
Um,
some of that in WandaVision. We
Towards the end.
saw, Monica Rambeau, and, we
yeah,
saw a few
yeah.
people. Yeah, so I think that might be what you're thinking of,
So
because
I like,
Black Widow is, long before the blip.
yeah, but oh no, I'm thinking of the Hawkeye show. Thank you, Ivan. Yeah, the
Oh,
Hawkeye show when we get uh the other Romanoff, I forget her name. Um,
Yelena.
I love when we get those kind of like recontextualizations of stuff that we've already seen. That to me is something that feels very comic booky. Like when there's a major event, and then in another book there's some like reference of like, well, what happened to these characters while that event was happening. So I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and like getting to see kind of the people of Eastview responding to this crazy situations that's happening just in the town next door. And I think like it sets up Billy to be a really interesting character going forward. Even when if he finds Tommy or whatever, and like kind of gets more of the history that he's looking for and like answers he's looking for, there's still always going to be this very interesting dynamic of him. Like he never really was a person before. He's kind of like a consciousness that was just created by Wanda that didn't even really have that life experience that they, like we saw them age up through the course of like 4 episodes, like 12 years, right? And
Right.
so like that, there's a reason why he doesn't remember a bunch of his childhood and stuff outside of all of the weird shenanigans going on. But then now this dynamic of him basically playing a role, being somebody else, trying to figure out what happened to himself, is a very comic booky situation, very cool from like a writing perspective. And I think one of the things I also mentioned last night when I was watching it was like I think at least for me, I was so focused on assuming that like this reveal was going to come at the end of the season, and like it was so obvious that like that's who he is and stuff, that I didn't spend much time thinking like, well, what if they do it earlier? like they did, and we get more of an explanation of exactly what happened, and we get more of this kind of characterization, and that was really cool. It was a very well earned reveal. All of the seeds were planted. They talk about the accident that he mentions of his parents, to talking about Eastview, like the timing. It all lines up really well. Specifically, the Lilia sigil thing struck. I definitely was on this, like, logic would lead you to believe that it had something to do with Wanda, but it makes a lot of sense that she would peer into this future and see what's happening to him and go, okay, I don't want to know this. No one else,
Right.
the witches incoming here, should encounter with this. I'm curious what the extent of that vision was, if it extended into like what we're going to see on the road, and more of like specifically the Billy Maximoff stuff of understanding like that he's going to basically become a completely different person. I'm hoping that we get a little bit more explanation of that, but yeah, it was
Yeah.
really
Yeah, I mean, we definitely get a nice number of answers, and it does pose a number of questions about kind of where we're going. And I wanted to
Uh,
comment on something sort of. So Ivan in the chat says Alice being an Eastview cop was very cool because we
yeah.
heard she's a former cop. So yes, she is in this episode. And she posted on Instagram a behind the scenes photo, which I thought was great. And she says, new Agatha episode tonight. Better catch up. Baby goat didn't make the cut. So apparently there was a baby goat in this episode at some point, but not anything that we saw. And this is Ali On, who plays Alice. But we're just sort of getting to see now she's like, well, now I'm going to just show all of my behind the scenes stuff,
Oh,
which
that is so
if you want
fun.
to, if you want to check out on Instagram. But this is kind of fun seeing how they did some of the the flying on the broom stuff, which I'm like, God, looks fun to watch, but I'd probably throw up by this point.
Oh my God,
Being
no,
so
I
damn
would be just giddy as a clam. I don't
yeah.
know.
All my clams would be on the floor. So good for you that you would be getting. But so yes, I just thought I wanted to weave that in there because I had seen that. I know someone who worked on this show, and that person had shared this. So I thought we should share that on the show. So as we're going along, we do have that 3-year jump, and Teen is with his boyfriend, who I do believe is in his phone as Boyf, and I do
Boyf.
think I do believe that annoyed a lot of people when we saw it earlier. So we get to see it again. Some people are reacting, just to jump ahead for a moment, that when Boyf texted him, he sent him a black heart.
Yeah.
We know that there is this black heart character. So could that be him? Could Rio be masquerading as this boy? I don't know. I want to know what if any of you have either of you have any thoughts on that. I'll ask you first, Katie. If when you saw that, especially if you watched it twice, when you saw the black heart, did you go whoa, or did you just go like kids today?
No, I shouted Blackheart. But
Which you wanted to make sure you were the first one to say it. Black heart.
No, I shouted it for my husband. I was like, "Did you see? Did you see?"
He's
And
like,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah,
"Oh
I got it.
yeah, yeah." Yeah. I don't know necessarily if that is the connection. If Rio is connected to Boyf in any way, I do feel
Mm.
like if Rio, and we all kind of assume that she is death, she's been kind of you know not given enough souls after a lot of this explosion, a lot of the stuff with the hex. Like, I feel like she is really looking for some souls. And this episode, the fact that she wasn't in it and in the very end of the last episode is suspicious, because Rio needs some souls. And there's only been one death since like the last 2 episodes or so. Am I wrong in
Yeah.
that? Alice was the last
Well,
death?
at the end of the last episode, we could assume that there might have been multiple deaths. We haven't, we only see Agatha crawl out. So,
Right, but I mean, we see in trailers that like they're alive. Like
huh,
they're
just
I
because
know.
we see them doesn't mean they're alive.
It doesn't mean they're alive. Well, it
fair
doesn't mean
point.
any of them are alive, really,
Also true.
honestly. Like
Yeah,
if
hey, they could be school spirits.
hey, there it is.
Much of it.
I mean, we know at least one of them is.
I like I like when Nate's just so disappointed in me, and it does cause me to have a little bit more restraint in the future. But yes, it's true. So look, just because people may have died doesn't mean that Rio's not like, so we got any more souls? What's happening on here? You know,
I
just
don't know.
just because I've gone through the Wynn buffet in Vegas once, that doesn't mean I don't want to get back up and go through again. All right. So
Right.
I'm with Rio on this. Sometimes you're
But
still hungry for souls.
right, but like Agatha's huge reaction just saying like you cheated death. Okay, like it's what you had to do. You survived. And she's cheated death more times than we can count. And there was a big theme, especially in all of the stuff that they were kind of researching, or at least Billy was researching before
Hmm.
he kind of gets involved in the Witch's Road, of like Agatha and how long she's been around, and how she's cheated death multiple times. So that relationship is very interesting. And I'm like, okay, so clearly Agatha has made some kind of deal with death, or some kind of reverse deal where she can't die by death's hand. Not really sure what that is, but what she needs to bring her in instead of her own soul.
Right. To sort of backtrack to the black heart
Yes, sorry.
emoji, I wanted no, it's fine. It's all relevant. It's all Agatha talk. It's all part of the conversation. You start talking about Venom 3, I'm gonna have to say, hold on, that's not till next week. All right, we have to hold up. But what did you think, Nate, with the black heart? Did it give any impression that perhaps this character could be more than they seem to be?
No, I think for me, I think we got the reveal is that it's Billy Maximoff, and that his soul is inhabiting the dead body of Willie Kaplan.
Hmm.
And to me, the Blackheart thing was just kind of a callback to, so like when the coven summoned the door to the road, right? And we were like, well, why didn't it work the first time? But it worked when the teen ran down there. And we were like, I think we were right on the nose, but we weren't quite there yet. I don't think the Black Heart was Rio Vidal, or it's obviously not Mrs. Hart. It's Billy, but
Wicked.
because of the sigil, when she was writing the list, she couldn't write his name. She didn't know his name. She couldn't remember his name, right? So she wrote the Black Heart as
Oh,
like a marker for him. And that, I think the text is just kind of like a wink of like, that's kind of why he's being referred to as the Black Heart in that regard. It might have something to do with him because he's in a dead body. Like there might be something like the Black Heart of him like being the not the incorrect soul in the body, or however they want to define that. But I don't think it has any relation to the character Blackheart or
Right.
Mephisto or anything else like that. I think that's, if anything,
Yeah.
more of just like a red herring to kind of draw some attention away. Um, I think when I saw it, I was like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense." He was always part of the coven. He was always the fifth
Right.
member.
mhm.
They needed him to get through. That's why it worked when he was there. Et cetera, et cetera. That, at least that's how I interpreted it.
On this topic, Ivan said, "Would Rio want Billy since he technically stole a dead body?" It's true. It's like getting
That's
something
what I'm
out of the
curious about.
freezer and reheating it. It's not going to taste as good. You know,
Yeah,
if
I do
if you
think
put a container from Panda Express in the freezer and take it out a week later, it's not going to taste like it was supposed to. And I'm sorry, what were you going to say, Nate?
It's so
Well, you don't
ridiculous.
freeze your Panda Express?
No,
I
actually,
no,
no.
Actually,
not even
you,
once.
you should not. Yes, I
I
agree.
have
Oh,
reheated Taco Bell
True.
though, I will admit.
I mean,
Yeah, I
you're not a
think
sandwich.
I definitely think that conflict is going to be a thing. I think there's going to be some interaction between Death and Billy of like, hey, you owe me a body or something of those regards. That might culminate in something where we get kind of like a battle between Agatha and Death, where Agatha wants to protect him and
Mhm.
feels like, you know, protective over him. But I definitely think that there is an interaction there that's going to be had. I think that's the primary reason why we didn't see the other two witches come back. I think they are dead, and they're with Rio in some capacity doing something. And the only reason why Agatha is not dead is because of whatever deal she has made with Death, as she kind of
Right.
hinted at earlier, of like why, she can't die, at least by anybody else's hand. some of that like immortality thing that she has. So
Right. Well, yeah, Cam Egan gives us the theory, and great to see you, Cam Egan, that they're just taking a dirt nap. Yes, a literal nap in the dirt. But no, I agree with Nate. I think they might very well be dead, but also, as Nate said, that doesn't mean we won't see them again. So, someone here in the chat has just a whole theory that I figure we can get into now because it's recent in the chat. So, Bible Alive presentations, which if that is something that you are, I'm just wondering, should you be watching a show like Agatha All Along that deals in witchcraft? Or is it ironic?
It's
You know?
research.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, Bible Alive, if that is your real name. Sorry that I made myself laugh so hard on that. Doom will
You
bring
can ring the
Wanda
bell.
back. Fresh out of Ultimate Nullifiers, Doom will use his space-time platform to prevent Wanda's suicide. I'm surprised that YouTube lets you write out the word suicide. To prevent Wanda unaliving herself. He needs her, oh, believe me, YouTube is very particular about what you say in videos. He needs her to obliterate the Kangs in the TVA. I mean, we don't talk about Kangs, at least not right now. We kind of moved on from Kangs for very
Might not
important
be a
real world
thing, yeah.
reasons, but also we've got the shiny new toy, which is Robert Doomy Jr. So I don't know if we need to talk about Kang, but he does say Doom is an absolute point canon event for the TVA, and the Kangs, obviously the 31st century Nathaniel Richards. He's going in there, and Turtle. I guess this is Turtle from Entourage. It doesn't look like him. Wiccan, who knew we'd be here? And I will agree with great actor Joe Locke.
Excellent,
So,
excellent actor.
I don't know. Yeah, well, but Turtle. I'm not gonna lie. This is actually the comment I wanted from Turtle. Will we get Speed? I wonder. I mean, that's kind of what Billy's motivation is now for the rest of the season. Is that I expect we will get Toby, as Agatha calls him. It's like, oh,
that made me
you're
laugh.
looking for Toby. But let me ask what both of you think. Nate, do you expect that we will get the payoff of seeing Speed, seeing Tommy Maximoff this season?
I mean, again, like we talked about seeing now, I would say that there's a much lower chance that we see Wanda, given that we know for sure his motivation is to see Tommy. It's a non-zero chance, definitely a higher chance than us seeing Scarlet Witch. But I do think that given that we know there's another WandaVision spinoff that's not Vision Quest,
Yeah.
I think we'll probably get a teaser for it of like he gets some type of indication of where Tommy might be. And maybe we find out whether or not Tommy is aware of the possession in the same way that Billy is.
Or is he even possessing anyone and just
yeah,
need to grab that
Did he
soul out of
somehow
thin air?
survive? Or maybe,
Yeah.
Well, so tune in on Disney Plus in 2026 for Tommy Quest. That'll be what that show will be. Bible Alive says maybe at the end of the series or the direction. Yeah, I think if we don't see him, it'll be like, oh, I think I know actually where he is. So I do like this theory because we are building up Young Avengers, or there's a few different things we might be building up, but Young Avengers seems like one of them. Do we think Wiccan's boyfriend is Hulkling? I don't believe that character doesn't strike me as Hulkling. Will we get Hulkling? Absolutely. But his name will never be in a movie. Otherwise, they'll have to involve Universal. So you can't put Hulk in the title of your movie without Universal getting involved. But Nate, you shook your head. I think that you're pretty dismissive of someone who calls himself Turtle. Are you having trouble taking Turtle seriously?
No. I respect the turtles. I just don't think that. I think character-wise, it makes more sense for that to be a later progression. I just don't. I mean, I could always be wrong. You never know what's going to happen. But I find it very unlikely that this character that we have met is going to be Hulkling. I think it will be more of like I think it's a tragedy point. It's an establishing formative relationship for him as he's trying to figure out who he is. But as he finds out more of who he is and goes off and like he didn't even tell him where he was going. He didn't tell him. I thought too that he was, when he was revealing to him that like I'm actually not the same person, I'm somebody else. I thought he was also going to reveal like, also I can read your thoughts. So like,
Yeah.
It
which
sounded like
seems,
he kind of caught it when he was like, "I love you too," and when he said "too," he
Yeah.
emphasized it. So it sounded
yeah,
like
and I
he
thought he was
understood.
gonna go, because he's like, I came back, I'm changed, I'm kind of different. This thing happens with people that I'm close to that get very emotional. I love you too.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I can hear your thoughts. Like I was like, cool.
Yeah.
We're getting full on. Like, just be honest. And he, nope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's some kind of weird stuff there with like
Well, it's
you.
interesting. Why would he hold it back? And why would it seems like he's not even telling him that he's going to the witch's road. And like he ignores the call when he's calling
Maybe
him.
it's just a lot all at once. Maybe you don't
True.
want to say like, "Oh, and by the way, I can read your thoughts." And
Yeah, but like,
as
isn't that
as
kind of
someone
a
who in life, perhaps maybe once told someone I love them and it wasn't reciprocated. Boy, it would be nice to be able to read the thoughts of someone. That's it's like, oh, you're
yeah, but
pretty
isn't that
special
kind of
too.
unethical as well? Of
Yes,
like,
agreed.
okay, all right, just yeah.
No, but I mean, look, unethical, but also sometimes you want the tactical advantage. By the way, and Turtle's wondering, maybe we'll get a Hulkling from World War Hulk. Look, I mean, we know we're getting Red Hulk early next year, and most likely in 2 films. But yeah, I mean, I don't know quite where they're going, but I think if we would get and by the way, if they do a War Hulk movie, what do they call it? Because again, you can't put Hulk in the title without having to, let Universal get a slice of the pie. But I think that would be pretty far down the road that we would see something like that. I know we're not really doing phases anymore, but that feels like a phase 8 to me. I didn't want to go past this one though because Bible Live again made me think of something that obviously, well, they thought of it, so let me give them credit. Like Stephen Strange, Billy broke the rules, and entering a dead body is forbidden. Yeah, but he's clearly practicing the dark magic, so that would be interesting
Well,
to see too if there's repercussions for him doing that.
he was born of
Agatha
dark
don't care.
magic, like
Yeah,
that's
that's
just
true.
kind of at his core of what he is. I mean, I find it interesting that even with the hex kind of seemingly still there, um, that his soul, wherever it went outside of the hex and then into the dead body of another William. But I guess it was
It's like as the hex was like collapsing.
collapsing? Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I wasn't sure because I was like, I saw it get smaller, but I didn't see it go
Yeah.
away. And then it was just like, the camera movement in this episode was so well done. Like I loved everything about this. And we haven't even gotten to the point we're
Oh,
talking about the
we're
reverse
about
side of
to.
Agatha. Oh,
Oh, that. Yeah, yeah.
I was so happy they finally did that and how hard she went in that accent for that for that character. Oh, that made me laugh so hard. This is one of the episodes that made me laugh the most, honestly. Because it was just like it was getting to see sort of that other side of like what was really happening and
Yeah.
how much harder she fell.
One of the things that probably helped, no singing. Now, obviously, Billy does listen to the record, but it's not the cast actually breaking out into song. And I saw this comment in the chat from our pal Kame Egan. So it seems like the perfect time to get to sort of the really big reveal in the middle, and her theory that Tommy is
Yes.
busy with a boner, which if our audio audience hears me say that and they go like, "Oh, Kame Egan, what happened? Don't dip in the blue ink." But Bohner, Ralph Boner is who we're talking about here, and the return of Evan Peters, which I thought was fun. I like when people can keep secrets, and around shows. What did you think about that, Nate?
I thought it was great. Yeah. Again, like I love the continuity stuff and getting more kind of explanations of things that happened. His recounting of his experience with Agatha was great. I think also too, like it really, the contextualization of like the internet search of Reddit and Dreadit and the Bruhapedia and stuff, and going down this rabbit hole and trying to find someone who's willing to talk about it. It was great. It was a really clever way to kind of get another cameo usage out of him, while also like giving us some good backstory and helping the character kind of get the answers he was looking for. I
Yeah, it was
was
interesting. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I just liked it. I enjoyed it.
Well, him researching Agatha, I thought not surprising that she was there in a crowd shot at what it was essentially the Hindenburg, which maybe they don't use the name of it for some reason. But then also, is she the Jolene that Dolly Parton song's about? That was something that made me laugh because I was like, all right, I didn't see that coming. That wait, she's
Of course she
the
is.
Jolene?
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah. And I thought that the way that Ralph explains being a part of what we saw in WandaVision, that it's like watching yourself on TV in your own head. You actually didn't have any control over what you did, and you know he talks a little bit about Agatha hijacking his life, stole the house, all of that, and then talked about the kids. And we do get some reveals which come up a little bit. There's a couple of them. One is that word on the street is Sword is using Vision for parts, which I don't believe is accurate because I remember seeing White Vision fly off into Vision Quest, which by the time we get it is what, 5 years after the show, but that's for another time. I wanted
But
to
White Vision
go ahead.
is like White Vision is like is another like construct of Wanda, right?
Right, and he's gonna be Vision without like whatever personality he had as we knew him. He's like the cold machine. He's a lot
In
closer to.
actual the machine.
Yeah, he's a lot closer to Ultron. Well, comic book Ultron, I guess. In
Sure.
that way, like the White Vision's just like, like, oh yeah, Wanda, codename Scarlet Witch. How can I help you? There's no like emotions from him, so that'll be interesting to see. Katie, I wanted to let you in on this installment of Boner Talk. And again, we're talking about Ralph Boner. I think that's important. Kame Egan, you have set us down a path that we may regret. But the reveal, getting to see Evan Peters, and the idea that he's like, oh, you mean that shady guy there in a trench coat in a parking garage? That was a nice reveal.
I love that he that he mistakenly said Ralph and then was like,
Yeah.
wait, no. Um, dude, the acting on this. Are you kidding me? He had a single tear. He had a single tear talking about this stuff. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
everything according like I don't know how they got his skin to look so sallow and gross and like he looked like he had been through the ringer, and I
Yep.
don't like they had a good extreme close up on him, and I don't know if that's his actual beard. The makeup team on this one shot alone, just him and pushing in, was incredible. And then to have like to work up the emotions of like how it tortured him mentally to the point like it was I was really feeling for him like more than I've ever felt for Mr. Boner uh in the entire series of both WandaVision and Agatha. But like I really enjoyed this moment, especially because we got a little bit more information. It was hysterical, but it was also so torturous to watch him just recount all of this stuff and be so twitchy, like kind of tweaked out that he's shaking what a dead crow's like skeleton just to
Yeah.
ward off Agatha. Oh, the poor tortured
Well,
soul.
the poor tortured soul, but also starving artist, as people who
100%.
live in LA. The fact that he accepts cash or half
Or
off tickets to my one man show in Paramus,
that
which
that
that
it's
is
so
that is
hard.
very near to where I grew up. I used to drive the good 20 minutes just to go to Tower Records on Route 4 or Route 17 in Paramus. Excuse me, I don't want to be called a liar. So the idea that he would be doing a one man show in Paramus is actually heartbreaking. Not quite sure where Eastview and Westview are, but you could do better. At least try to get that theater in Hoboken. All right. Randall. But yeah, so I thought that that was fun. And then after this is when we get him listening to The Witch's Road and the idea that she's Jolene. And then that starts to bring us closer to like almost right up to the beginning of this series. And I was a little surprised that I'm like, oh, so I guess that's what got him in there. I thought there was going to be more to it, and maybe we're going to have more revealed to us. But when we started catching up with when Teen first appears in this series, I don't know. I just thought we were going to have more information under our belts at that point. But it's also this is a 49-minute episode. This was very reasonable. This is the length that a show like this should be. So I appreciate what were you going to
Absolutely.
say, Katie?
Well, and like this felt like a fully realized episode that was just like, oh, couldn't we have more of this? I understand it's sort of like the post mid break sort of reveal episode. It's the flashback episode. It's where we get more grounded information to lead us into what the story was about. Um, but at the same time, it was just like, oh, I kind of wish we had a little bit more of this in all the other episodes, especially even with Alice. Like, I still feel like Alice got shafted in her whole storyline, but I'm really grateful for this. And I loved seeing Agatha on the flip side, like talking about her case to like a plant.
Yeah, and
It,
Turtle mentions the Boner family reunion shirt was also
yes,
that.
so
I
good.
agree with that.
Um,
That was
Definitely want
fun.
to get that. I'm sure they're gonna put that on sale somewhere.
Oh, you think? You
Yeah,
think that
I
they
know.
might be some merchandising associated with this show? Yeah.
Oh, do you have it? Is
No,
it?
I don't
Oh,
actually have it. I just we're that's not a close up of it. I just realized I was like, oh, that picture that I grabbed earlier, she does have the shirt on, but then I am now seeing like, oh, you
it's
can't read any of it. But
yeah.
that's all right. It's that shirt. So yeah. So I think that Nate, this does bring us into we're getting more information now for what we first saw, which all seemed a little suspicious slash mysterious, and it's really like over the first two episodes that we're getting to know Teen and what's going on. So I think I agree with you in that I like when it's like, okay, yes, you're seeing something you saw before, but now you're getting more context to it. So I found that to be helpful in our understanding. Uh, this this didn't make me feel like, oh yeah, all right, well then all's forgiven about the last five episodes. But I did appreciate a lot of what we had gotten more after this. How did you feel, Nate, sort of getting brought up to speed from his backstory to the more present time?
Yeah, I mean, immediately I just enjoyed that we were breaking up the formula and that we weren't going to follow down this kind of continual, almost borderline procedural path of the same thing every week. I do also wish that somehow the story between these last two episodes was cut differently. That kind of didn't leave one episode feeling like it was really severely lacking. Um, but yeah, I think it definitely sets up a lot more excitement for what's going to happen towards the end of the season. Because I was really expecting most of the resolution to just be based on the Billy reveal. So now that
Yeah.
that's kind of already out there, and it also allows Agatha to kind of position herself more as like a villain in the story, which I appreciate. I think all of her interactions with him this episode were great, from the accent and the poke the bear lines in the house to also her speech where she's like popping up behind him, kind of again filling this same position that she had with Wanda of being like, let me be your evil witch mentor kind of thing. So I thought it was really cool. I do wish that we got some more of the other cast. But I think we will still, especially since we still have four more episodes left, right?
So
uh
this was six, and I believe there's a total of nine.
Okay,
So
so there's
I
so there's
think we
one more, and then there's
and then
The
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 double
duel.
up. Yeah,
twofer
Yeah.
on Halloween, which programming note, we'll be covering those that Friday, so November 1st. But we'll let everybody know that next week. Ivan brings up a question: what did Agatha mean when he mimicked an explosion when she said she figured out Billy's identity? I mean, I guess sort of the way that Westview ended, like that's what I took it as. Did either of you take it as anything else? Katie,
Yeah,
Nate?
I assumed it was something to do with the fight with Wanda. I sort of
Yeah.
mimicking like a mind explosion, but also like a physical explosion. But that I didn't know if honestly in that moment I did question whether she took some of Billy's power when he zapped her into the bog, I guess. to get some of her purple back. I wasn't really sure, but I
But
don't
he
think it's
didn't, right? He
he
used his
didn't.
magic on the other two, and then didn't they throw her in there or something? Like,
Yeah,
because
they sort of like shadow banned their mind or something, and
yeah, their eyes were like blue and stuff. So I think he may have avoided. I read the explosion thing as just of like a when you're telling someone like, oh, I figured it out, like kind of thing. I don't think it quite literally meant an explosion. But she also may have been referring to, kind of the explosion of emotion that we saw, as she mentioned, like he uh, as we see like at the end of the episode, like he can't directly quite control the magic yet. All of that happened when he was, emotionally vulnerable and kind of lashing out because of Alice's death and his anger at Agatha and stuff. And I think also too that kind of we saw that as we now know, like he never really was idolizing Agatha. He was just trying to use her to get the information and get on the road. But understood her to be a villain, to be someone not to
Yeah.
be trusted. So I think
right.
kind of that whole him swallowing that up and being buddy buddy, kind of that bubble popped, and he was like,
Oh,
actually no,
interesting.
I don't like you, actually I was faking it the whole time, kind of stuff.
Yeah, I thought that sort of, when we catch up to present time, where we left off last episode, I thought that that interaction with Agatha and Billy, I thought that was, she's like, making fun of, some of the things about that he'd been faking, and she's like, when did you figure it out? She had a hunch at the beginning. I do not believe she did. But
No, I think she was kind of figuring it out on the I feel like she
yeah,
had like a glint, especially when she asked
yeah,
him his name twice, but I
yeah.
loved when she said, "Well, of course you're a Maximoff. This is so dramatic."
And you and your mother had the same tell. I thought that was nice.
That was interesting,
And
yeah.
yeah, and then we get sort of the explanation for how he ended up in this body. And she says some sort of interesting things. She says, "Don't feel guilty about your talent. That's what makes you special. That's what makes you a witch." That's what I say to myself in the mirror every morning. That's some of my self affirmations that that my talent is what makes me special and what makes me a witch. Um,
Right.
there's that moment where Billy says that he doesn't need her anymore, and he doesn't know that he ever did. And then very quickly is like, yeah, I absolutely still need her, don't I? Because the show isn't called Billy All Along, is it, Katie?
It's not. It's not. And I feel like we're gonna get some more fun twists and turns coming up. I am curious to see if we get back to format in the next episode. And we go into yet another trial.
It seems like it because they say, "Let's go find the next trial." Which, by the way, I
Right.
love. Sort of one of the last lines. His last one there is a nice person, and he's like, "I'm not that nice." And I'm like, "Yeah, we get it. We know."
No, yeah. Well, it feels it's an interesting thing how he's constantly being like, "No, I'm bad. I'm real bad," and I'm like, I mean, your intentions are actually quite pure. You want to find your
Yeah.
brother.
Yeah, that's how I would have acted if my parents had ever bought me a leather jacket in high school and I started wearing it. I'd be like, no, no, I'm actually bad. What did you think, Nate? Sort of the tail end of the episode where we're getting caught up to the present and we get this interaction that we're talking about between Billy and Agatha, and we look towards the next trial.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. Like this dynamic is, I think, much more fitting to Agatha than the kind of anti-hero stuff that we've seen so far, of where they want her to be bad and evil, but also want her to be somewhat relatable, so as she's like the main character of the show. So I think going forward, that's going to be a relationship that's very interesting. I think too, for the from the characters and like comic book perspective, this idea that as Wiccan is kind of become coming into his powers, he's going to have Agatha be kind of a mentor to him, is very interesting to me. I think, especially if we look forward to think of them doing like Young Avengers stuff, I think that's very exciting. So
Yeah,
I don't think she kind of knew exactly, maybe quite that early on, but it does make sense to me that she would have a suspicion, because she kind of for example, she or Ralph talked about killing the dog, killing Sparky, and
yeah,
like all of that was to get at Wanda, but also like specifically, I think a lot of the interest, and I think we'll see this more as the show goes on, is um, remember Agatha's specific connection to the idea of like losing a child, right? And so for her to see Wanda create these children out of nothing, like I think part of her is like, okay, how did you do that? I want to know some of that stuff because I've lost my own son. So I think that there is reason for her to, as she's running through the list of like who this person could be, for Billy and or Tommy's name to be on that list somewhere, especially with the interactions that she had with them on the show. Like she definitely favored Billy a little bit more than Tommy because of the magic stuff. So I think that uh it makes a lot of sense, and I'm excited to see like the, especially too as we see the other characters, and kind of like I really want to see Lilia's kind of perspective of like what she saw that made her make the sigil and stuff that made her forget. And I think the ending of the episode, it sets us up nicely to kind of continue down the road that we've traveled, but they've shaken up the statuses of the relationships and where people are, so that again it's not going to be kind of the same procedural thing. We are getting actual like character progression, which is nice.
Katie, magically, I forget that you can bring things up on the screen
I did
too.
not mean to. I was gonna
Well,
try
no,
and
but
send
you
you the
brought it
link
up,
of
so
it.
if you're able to bring it back up.
Yeah.
But Kame Egan, I had seen this much earlier, and I'd kind of forgotten. So Kame Egan said, "I originally thought Senator Scratchy was Nicholas Scratch, but now I'm leaning toward Agatha turning Speed into a rabbit." So the question becomes, which by the way, that's I do like that theory, but the other sort of reveal we can get over these next 3 episodes is Nicholas Scratch. Because Agatha seems to have motivation towards her son. We don't have the whole story. That is kind of the other big mystery on there. I feel like we will at least have a better understanding. It's sort of like with Tommy. We may or may not see him at the end of this series. We may or may not find out exactly what happened with Agatha's son, but I think similarly, they'll both kind of be on the path towards finding out more. And with any of these Disney Plus series, I think you leave the door open for another season. So far, Loki is the only one that got a second season, but I think that the team over there at Agatha might be looking towards that. What do you think, Nate, about Nicholas Scratch and getting some kind of insight, whether or not we get the actual answers about Agatha's son?
um it could go many different ways. I'm leaning towards it's just kind of a simple and clean, he died. I think there was some type of
Ivan Soto agrees with you. I just wanted to bring that up. Yeah, he says that last week
well, we
confirmed
know
it.
that the spirit is there. That doesn't necessarily mean dead.
Right.
Especially because they also talked about in that episode that spirits like have like unfinished business, and that's not why they have fully moved on. That's why they like are haunting, and that's why Death was like kind of freaked out by them. And we saw Agatha's mom there because she had unfinished business to take care of. So
Right.
I'm not totally convinced that he's just like dead, gone, but I do think um, he is the source of whatever is the issue between Rio and Agatha. And I think
Yeah.
that we're going to get kind of a mirroring situation with Billy, where she, is like, well, you broke the rules, so but I still got to take you, a body's got to be paid, kind of a thing. And I think we're going to see Agatha see it as kind of like a redemption moment of where she kind of maybe faltered and allowed Death to take her son in order for exchange of the Darkhold or whatever exactly happened.
Yeah.
And I think in this instance, we're going to see her try to save him from that instead, and kind of oppose Death. So
Yeah, no, I agree. And this was earlier in the chat from RDXZDX, if that is your real name. I'm so excited for episode 7. This would be the first week where I had that thought after an episode. It's like, oh, I really want to see what happens next.
Oh, I'm so
And
glad.
yeah, no, I would like to know. And Turtle also wanted to know, will we finally see Sasha as Mephisto? I'm not convinced that Mephisto is actually a thing we're going to see. They're like, look,
You
we
can see
mentioned him.
Mephisto in Fortnite if you buy the skin. And
Well, there you go.
Don't
So
worry, all the
so
Christians are
Billy and
very mad that he's in
Agatha,
there.
yeah, Billy and Agatha should just get Fortnite.
Yeah.
And it was good to see the Key Files was excited to find us live. And Cami Egan, do you think Wanda's going to show up either briefly in the series or post credit? Um, I think that it's still unlikely, but it is not impossible. I think before we actually started getting these Disney Plus shows, I might have said it's impossible. I just don't think they know what they're doing with Wanda
I
after
I feel like they
Multiverse of Madness.
might know what they're going to try to do. It just depended on a lot of factors, I would say. I agree with Nate that I think the likelihood of seeing her in this show specifically has really reduced, especially since
Yeah,
the goal right now is Tommy. So really what we're probably going to see either as a teaser or within the next couple of episodes is Tommy. If we see Tommy in the next couple of episodes in any capacity, I think maybe there's a slight chance of Wanda as a post-credit scene, but I still think that's even less. And then Sacha Baron Cohen as Mephisto, I think is not really
not
going to
part.
happen. Not this series at least. Like as much as we all have been like looking for clues of when he'll pop up or where, I don't think it's going to be this show. It would be cool, but I also don't know how they would pull it off satisfactorily.
It would not
Within
be satisfactory. Yeah, Nate, you're sort of on record as saying that you don't think we're going to get her. I feel like this episode wouldn't probably budge your opinion from the
Yeah, it
fact that
definitely moved me from like the 1% maybe in last week to now maybe like a 0.5%.
yeah,
It's always going to be a never and not a zero number, but I think also too, if you look at the comics history of the characters, a big part of Billy and Tommy's character is that they spend time looking for Wanda specifically,
right.
which I think is a great story arc to have. And so I don't, we maybe we get a vision or like a word repeating or something like something speaking to them, but I don't think that we're going to get a concrete appearance from her. I think that's something they're saving for down the line. That's going to be much more impactful, probably like a movie type thing.
Yeah, no, I do think that that's most likely, and we will see over these next 3 episodes that we'll get over the next 2 weeks, and I guess all the focus will be on Tommy. Which you know what they say about Tommy, he sure plays a mean pinball. Turtle in the chat says this I've saved this one for a while because this wasn't really on topic. Do we think, and we know Isaiah Bradley is in Brave New World. That's not what that's called, is it?
no.
What is? I always mix it up with the book.
I
The new
know. No.
Captain America.
Yes.
Uh,
I think it is
anyway,
Captain America Brave
it
New
is Brave New World. It just didn't
Yeah.
sound right. Yeah.
It doesn't sound right
Uh,
because it's the classic book.
because it's the book. Yeah. Is
Yeah.
it Bold New World? No, it's Brave New World.
It is.
So we know Isaiah Bradley's in there. Do we think Isaiah Bradley's grandson will get that blood transfusion in Captain America? I mean, we did meet his grandson in Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it'll depend on what they want to do with that, but it'll be interesting to see what's going on with Isaiah Bradley
I
and Turtle.
guarantee you will not see it in Agatha All Along.
Correct. Yes.
I guarantee that.
Also, something that you will be able to see next week, but not in Agatha All Along, is I referenced it earlier. Venom: The Last Dance will be in theaters. Well, by this time next Thursday, you'll be able to go and see it, and I, for one, will be seeing it. I know we'll do a special episode at some point, not before our next episode of this, but before the season finale. We'll talk about it. Where are both of your excitement levels, or not even excitement, interest levels? Any plans to see Venom: The Last Dance, Nate?
No.
Okay. So,
No,
Nate
I
is not
still
interested.
haven't. I think I watched the first one. I don't even really remember it. I think I mean, and I only say I think I watched it because I remember watching the second one and falling asleep in the middle.
Yeah. The second,
I just
I'm looking for a redemption after the second one. So,
I have always enjoyed the Venom character, and I like Tom Hardy. I think it's an awful casting. I think to give the character their own movie without establishing them as a character in Spider-Man is an awful choice. I think
great.
to do it to then have a Carnage movie that's not rated R is an awful choice. Like,
Yeah.
there's just the Fox has burned me so many times already, and like it's one thing when it's like Madam Web, but like Venom has been an important character and a loved character for a long time, and it's like just stop. Just I don't want to contribute any of my dollars to making them think that, oh, this is a good thing. What we're doing is a good thing. Like,
so Venom 4, The Last Dance, and by the way, it's Sony who's burned you. Fox has also burned you, but in this instance, it's Sony.
Burns from Sony though.
6 of one, half dozen of the other. Ivan Soto, I hope Venom: The Last Dance is the best of the three. Sorry for liking those movies. Look, like I say, and I want to like it, and
never apologize.
Never apologize for liking something. Yeah.
Everyone can like things.
Yeah.
You know, there's plenty of things that are what most people would describe as bad that I enjoy. There are things that I would say are bad that I enjoy. You know, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad or not. It just matters if you like it. If you enjoy it, if you have fun, then go see it and have fun.
Exactly. Go
I
see it twice,
personally,
Ivan.
I think that the Null character is an incredible character, and the whole book arc of King in Black is like fantastic comic book storytelling. And similar to the Thor thing we got with Gore the God Butcher, where they butchered the character, I'm not excited to see their take on Null. So
Null,
we'll see.
I'll let you know after the fact, but we'll announce when and who I will rope into talking about that. I might have to reach out overseas. I feel like. But Cam Egan says I did not care for Venom, although I do like Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock, but the stories were bad. Look, the fact of the matter is we didn't need Venom. We didn't need another Eddie Brock when Topher Grace already nailed it perfectly in Spider-Man 3. Obviously, we never needed Venom again. We never needed to visit with Eddie Brock. But Katie, is that not on your to-do list, Venom: The Last Dance?
I have never seen a Venom movie. Right. I mean, look, I could totally binge those movies.
No, but I wouldn't.
But I have a life at the moment.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't.
It's been packed lately. So, but you know what? Go watch it if you want to. Go watch it. I cannot wait.
I will. I'm going to.
I know, because it feels very similar to like when Madam Web came out, and I was like, "Have fun."
Oh no, I knew. I know you knew. I'm much more. I'm anticipating something more, but I will let everybody know. Maybe Ivan and I'll go see it. In any case, that is our time for this week. We appreciate everybody being in the chat, especially some new faces. That's always fun. So please be back with us next week, when hopefully Mr. Brody won't still be stuck at LA or New York Comic Con. That's the other fake one, is LA Comic Con. But I'm glad I actually tripped over that, because I wanted to let people know that on the feed, actually on this YouTube channel, and then the audio feed for Geekscape Book Club, is the panel conversation we had. And this time when we did it, I had the entire panel actually record. So the episode where we talked about Deadpool kills the Marvel Universe and Deadpool versus Marvel Universe and Deadpool and Wolverine, you can find that episode for you. Actually, you can't find the video because I was too lazy and it was going to really take a lot. So actually, you can only find the audio version of that. So look for the audio feed of the Geekscape Book Club, and then you'll also find some other fun conversations and all of that. But until next Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, Katie Hampton, where can you be found?
You can always find me at ElSassyPants, ElSassyPants, sometimes with a Z if you're on TikTok. You can also check out my podcast. It's Napping Through Happy Hour. We talk real life, real drama in real time. And we got to get you guys on there sometime. Come on as guests.
I do like naps, so
and I like happy hour. So
yes, so you can do both.
we're both parts of the equation. And Nate, where can people find you?
You can find me at Dog Like Nate with 2 G's. Soon to be migrating off of Twitter.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, I think that might be the time to do it. It's tough. I've thought about it, and sorry, I see William Walton. I always like to. Yeah, I hadn't put any of his comments up. If Agatha was telling the truth and she can't control the whole magic drain thing, she could have accidentally killed her son. Entirely possible. Something that we will have to see. And thank you, Cam Egan. You can find me on Twitter still for now, and Instagram at ChristianDMZ. And my personal podcast, The Bladcast, BLADTCAST. We've had a couple conversations about Joker Folie à Deux and Megalopolis. And the next one, we also talked about Jason Reitman's movie Saturday Night, about the night of the first episode of Saturday Night Live, a film I enjoyed much more than those other two, but it is very much a work of fiction. So you can find all that over at the Bladcast, BLADTCAST, and Cam Egan liked that episode, so please check it out. You'll see Mr. Brody and the great Farad Muhammad on that. But that is all the time we have for now. We will see you next Thursday, and as the great Stan Lee would say, Excelsior!